Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the roundtable from the Glastonbury Goddess Conference Ceremonial Circle. Here we are with our beloved ceremonial circle tonight. I'm Andrea, your host, and we are here with Katinka Sutens.
Hello.
Marion Brigantia. Caroline Stevens.
Hi.
And Stephanie Allison Schudel. The theme we are starting with this fantastic live every Tuesday. It's a dear theme to this community, since we are all priestesses or light workers or, everything in between. And the theme for today is the spiritual ego. Where does enlightenment end, and where does the Messiah complex begin? We need to think about the Messiah complex as a mental state in which a person believes they are a Messiah or a prophet and will save or redeem people in a religious endeavor. So this is, of course, one part of the spectrum that starts with an enlightenment process. And this is very particular in our world, in our community, as we are all faced with this question at some point in our paths. I'm really glad to introduce the ceremonial circle today, and we have both of our goddess conference weavers, Katinka and Marion, who have been guiding and weaving with the ceremonial circles over the years, the goddess conference, and we are really glad to have you today. I'm sure all the community is really happy to see you all here. So I will start from Katinka to see and hear what she thinks about this. What do you think, Katinka, about the topic of today?
Thank you, Andrea. It is an important topic. I really like this idea that we get to just get together and discuss some of the more edgy topics for ourselves and for our community, because we don't really have much opportunity. We all work and live in our own zones. We hold courses or circles or whatever, and actually to check in with yourself around these topics is really important. So this one, Andrea, that you've suggested for us to start with is a really great one. I think the words are tricky. Enlightenment is a huge word. It means different things to different people. But if we were to drop it into the more subtle field of somebody on a spiritual path, and particularly somebody holding circles or courses or workshops for other people who are also seekers or also fellow journey persons on a spiritual path. And if we look at the Messiah complex, like you said, there's this part of our ego where we can we can get into that place of that we think we have the answers. In fact, usually the only answers. And whether that can save or solve the problems for somebody else, we also really want the accolades constantly. For me, that's part of this egoic, greedy place. You have to be right. You think you're right. Therefore, everybody else is wrong, or at least of a lesser right than you are. And you need this validation of being honored, of being recognized, of being remembered. That kind of sticky, egoic part, which if you look at what an enlightenment or a spiritual journey, in my opinion, should be about, which is this becoming of the absolute best version of a human being that we can be in all our behavior all the time, which none of us are anywhere, myself included, certainly nowhere close to. And the Messiah complex, if you like, this kind of needy, egoic, righteous, I need my adoration dose kind of place. I have the right answer for everyone. The truth is mine. This is very easy to have going on in the background. And so to make it a big word, for me, is a very good way to make it kind of a little bit sort of startling in your face, so that you have to feel into, where is that actually for me? Because these are traps. These are honey traps of the spiritual path, and we can all fall into them so easily. It's easy to slip, particularly, as I say, if you don't have circles of equals where you really actually confronted with some accountability or reflection. And the Goddess Conference Ceremonial Group is very much a circle of equals. So, darlings, what?
Yeah, well,
Before everyone
I
starts,
enjoy listening to you.
I would really love to say hi also before everyone else starts. That's a great introduction, Katinka. Can we have a clap for Katinka? Can we have
Well done.
Great introduction. Before everyone else starts, I would like to say hi to all the people following us. We are live on Facebook right now. If you are on Facebook and following this live, please know that your comments will be read here and featured in this live. So they will be a live part of this conversation. So please type away your comments and what you would like to weigh in with your opinions, so we can share this here at this round table. This idea of the round table is exactly that. So to have a bunch of our priestesses from the ceremonial circle to just lively, and for the first time, because this is not prepared, discuss about topics that are really close to our hearts. So again, if you're live right now with us on Facebook, please do comment and please let us know you're here. We'll be really happy to hear that. Also, this episode, as all the others ones, every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. UK time, will be then streamed on YouTube and on a podcast. So you're welcome. Welcome to the round table at the Goddess Conference.
Right.
Yes, so back to the loose priestesses of the round table, as we jokingly call ourselves.
When I read the topic, I must be honest, it really made me think. It really did. I was thinking it was a good one, Andrea. Really, whoever came up with it's brilliant. And I think it's so good to have something that's thought-provoking, that is so powerful. It really, I sat and I had a think, and I got my notebook out, as everyone knows I like to do. And I think this topic is just, it fits people that do healing work. It fits teachers very, very much so. That idea, as you've already said, 𝗥𝗢𝗙𝗓𝗏, of wanting, of elevating yourself to something extra, the expert almost on something, and that by doing that, you shut in my opinion, that shuts down that opportunity for self-growth straight away. You're by having that Messiah complex and that belief in the self as something, as being better than, then you're limiting your beliefs completely, limiting own ability to grow, own ability to develop. It's good to have that humility, I think, to open yourself up to learning from other people. And as you already said yourself, 𝗥𝗢𝗙𝗓𝗏, it's to sit in circle with peers and with equals is great, because it really does bring in that sense of self-responsibility as well, and listening, being present, speaking your own voice, hearing other people's opinions, particularly when they're not necessarily your opinion. And listening to that and learning from it. It's powerful to be able to do that.
Yes, I just thought about what you were saying, the self-responsibility, because what I always feel is that, I don't know if you have experienced that as teachers, is that the students often put you on a pedestal. And it's like, you really have to be self-responsible, and you have to really check in with yourself to not take on that role. It is a bit like the Messiah complex, I think, doesn't necessarily come immediately from yourself. But if you are constantly put on a pedestal, and it's like, oh, we want to only hear from you, or tell us what you do. All these things that I have over the years have experienced from students, even though I don't even want to go there, but I have to take the responsibility and say to them, like, no, you find it out yourself. I'm not the one who's telling you exactly what is what and how to do it. I think in the spiritual realm, it's very much about finding their own path, especially in the relationship from teacher to student. Is for the teacher to take the responsibility to not be the one who knows it all, as 𝗥𝗢𝗙𝗓𝗏 said in the beginning. We don't know it all, and it's really about encouraging people to find their own way, and to encourage them not to just follow you. That's not what it's about. The teaching that we are doing is not about following us. It's actually finding your own way. So I think there's also that part of the coin. It's in the self-responsibility is actually how it happens. I don't think the Messiah complex just is something, oh, I'm so great, I'm going to do this, and I know it all. It is also put on you as a teacher, especially.
Yeah, it is. And also we do have experience and skills, none of us are have just done one workshop and are starting with something. There is a difference there as well in just the continuation of a path if it's really lived. And I think if that is authentic, there is far less of this I am the only one who knows, and yes, there might be projection, but there is also some truth in that, particularly if people are beginning out on the path. We're not all at the same place in that. And for many people, I think, who've been doing this for a long time, it's very easy to fall into the groove of your habit that then becomes the way. And I think that is what you're talking about there, Marion, and also you, Caroline, that edge place where, how do we guard against that? Which was Andrea's question for today, really. How do we guard against that? Because, yeah, it's there. It's there. We all want to be liked. Yeah, we all want to be recognized. Otherwise, why advertise your courses, for example? Yeah, so there's all these nuances to this, really. And at the same time, if that becomes a hunger for adoration, for, having to lift yourself, having to have your students even in some way put you on that pedestal, and having that slightly, I'm liking that feeling, rather than the slight discomfort feeling that you're speaking into, Marion. I think those are danger signs that we need to be really aware of and talk about, because it is very easy to slip into that for all of us.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's so interesting because I looked at the whole sentence in a completely different way. So I think it's really fantastic. It's really great because I think that sentence that you put out, Andrea, was just absolutely fantastic. Because for me, I was thinking, okay, enlightenment and the Messiah complex. For me, the Messiah complex is somebody who basically gives up themselves to continuously serve others and has absolutely no boundary in that and loses themselves in constantly helping other people.
Different kind of Messiah.
Exactly, the Messiah. Like, okay, what does he do? He
That's very true.
lets everything go and constantly to help other people, and has absolutely no boundary, does not say no, does also not know how to say no. And for me, the enlightenment, like you said, Katinka, somebody on the spiritual path who actually can feel their boundary and really feel into their body when their body says no, I'm not going to do this, or here's my boundary, that belongs to that spiritual path. And to not give up yourself, because so many people are so afraid to not belong and to not be loved that they go into this Messiah complex of constantly being there for others and then going into that place of, yes, I'm the big healer, instead of taking care of yourself, learning when are my boundaries now overstepped.
Oh my God, that's so good. I'm so glad you said that side as well. Yes. And then this self-sacrificing free-for-all becomes, I'm doing this for everyone because I'm so noble. And that's my path to enlightenment, whatever that means for different people, enlightenment, whatever that means,
Yeah, exactly.
That means I'm a goddess person if I do that. Totally. I love what you're saying there.
Yeah, because enlightenment is also something that is like, what is enlightenment? As you said, Tinka, there's so many ways to look at enlightenment. And if I listen to what you just said, Stephanie, I think like, yes, I think some people actually feel that, you have to give up yourself completely to become enlightened. You have to, and that is linked with the Messiah, like, that is what you learn in the Bible and in Christianity, like, you have to give up everything. You have to let go. You have to leave your house, your family, everything behind. And then you can go on the path of enlightenment, give away your shoes, your mantle, everything has to go. And then you're on the right path to enlightenment.
Talk about patriarchal conditioning there, right?
Exactly. But isn't enlightenment becoming more and more you? Completely you.
Yeah.
Everything goes, not you.
Well, it depends what we mean by you, really.
Yes, exactly. Because that's if you say I become completely me, and I have to be so. To be me, I have to do this and I have to do that, and then you go over other people's boundaries. So it's you really have to look out for that place of balance where you know, where you go in all these things that we have said so far, is that where do you go over into too much enlightenment and too much service and too much.
I don't know if there's enough enlightenment. So what is enlightenment? What does it mean to you? Because it's one of these words that means so many different things to different people from different paths, from different non-Christian paths. I mean, you know, what does it mean?
Yes, I think enlightenment really.
In the meanwhile, we can say hi to Petronella, Astra, Cornelia, everyone following us. Thank you so much for following us today and here with your comments. Fantastic. Astra Rose says something like, hello, great to be here. Such an interesting and important conversation. So we agree. Marion, to you.
No, I think as far as I know, well, I don't know everything, but as far as I know, enlightenment really comes from Buddhism. That's the real where the term comes from, and I don't know enough from Buddhism. I know a little bit through Matthew, but I don't know enough of Buddhism to actually give a definition for enlightenment. But yeah, say what is enlightenment, I think personally I would go very close to the Messiah complex, what you were saying, Stephanie, that I would you know, not I'm really looking for the balance here, but you know, I would go more towards that in being in service, especially as a priestess, to really, you know, go into what do you do to the service of, that's another term like that, the higher good. What's that? You know, higher good. That's another term that we use so often, and that is for me very close to enlightenment. So I don't have an answer here.
No, I don't. But I think it's a sum of lots of parts, isn't it? And I think it will completely depend on the individual. I think for me, Steph, you've brought something brilliant up with the boundaries. It's that awareness of what are healthy boundaries, and not only just an awareness of it, but absolutely embodying the practice of healthy boundaries, which on paper is so easy, but in life is so challenging.
Yes.
And so really for me, an enlightened being would almost, I don't know whether I would necessarily class myself as an enlightened being, to be honest. I prefer that I'm a being in growth. But when I thought about enlightenment originally, I was thinking about growth, that enlightenment encompassed growth. So I think for me, enlightenment is almost that awareness of that I have so much further to go.
Yeah, maybe it is something like to have full consciousness. I have no idea what form that would have, but if you talk about grow, and I think, yeah, what is the growth? The growth for me would be to become more and more aware, and to become more and more give, you know, wisdom, and so maybe enlightenment would be something like having the full consciousness, the full understanding of life, but. Well, I'm very far away from that.
I think it's very interesting, this conversation, because of course my husband is a Buddhist and we have these conversations at home quite often, and the semantics are important. Yeah. And really, as pagans on a goddess path, none of us can really talk about what enlightenment means from the Buddhist perspective, and that is a translated word, and it means different things in the different streams of Buddhism. Not really different, but the nuances there too, you know. I think it's really useful to think about. I think what we are all talking about is more insights than enlightenment. And so there's something around, for me as a pagan priestess of the goddess and of the gods, there's something around to become more and more true to the path. For me, the guiding question there is, what would love do? Like you were saying, Caroline, you know, to be in the best version of ourselves, which is a New Age term, you know, it's not easy. And this idea of service, yes, but not discounting yourself, like what you were talking about, Stephanie, with that self-sacrificing. That actually is a very good different angle on the Messiah complex as well. So this idea of enlightenment as a goal, without it being a driven goal, as a goal to really be, for me, in my language, it would be, okay, if I'm the embodiment of that part of me that is goddess or that is divine presence, what would that look like in my thoughts and in my actions? Not just when I'm in a ceremony or when I am really in a good place, but all the time. And that I cannot do as the human that I am now. But
I think that sums it up. It's not just when I'm in a good place. It's the other time, isn't it?
Exactly. It's all the other times, precisely.
I think, can we even be enlightened in this lifetime, or is it the many lifetimes that we go through until we come into a place of enlightenment? And isn't the path of unbecoming to become?
Yes, I think that's. Well, I mean, there is this whole thing that it can happen in a lifetime, but only because of what has gone before in many lifetimes. So, really, for me, my goal, personal goal, is not enlightenment. It's not actually my path. I don't fully understand what it means, and it has slipped into our language as something, that everybody has a different idea about, really. So, yeah. For me personally, it's not my intention as such. It's more but then what my intention is actually is, again, in the semantics, not that dissimilar to like when I talk to a Buddhist about enlightenment, though it is such a massive journey of this, what you just said, this I don't understand it, actually. That's my truth there.
There is something in what Stephanie said about a sentence that makes perfect sense, because the Messiah complex could be the original things that we were discussing, but also the personal one. And it's stated as the term can also refer to a state of mind in which an individual believes that they are responsible for saving or assisting others. And I feel that it resonates with the priestess archetype that many of us work with. And regarding this, the sentence itself, the question, was a bit more tricky in a way that when is that we, in the search for the enlightenment or our true self, become dearly attached to the utility we have in other people's lives, that it starts to feed us instead of our true self. So when are we fed by the love of others and appreciation of help and support we give others, that we become intoxicated by it, and then we become the Messiah instead of...
we become the rescuer, darling. The rescuer archetype, the shadow form, the white knight, instead of rescuing the parts in ourselves that really are asking our attention, we sit in that triangle of perpetrator, rescuer, and victim, Yeah.
Yeah, and I think in the goddess tradition, this is also often seen as the mother archetype, that, the mother archetype who has to look after all the children and have to make it good for all the children and all that. And and again, as a teacher, that is often projected on us, as teachers. But it's like if I like I did with my own children, it's like bring in the self-responsibility, bringing in self-responsibility in the teachings. I think that is so important, and that is I know we do that as well. To bring it back to the students and bring it back to the people where you work with. We can't fix people. It's not our job. It's not our job to fix people or to make it all okay for everybody. That's not our job. Our job is to really say to people, you can do it yourself, and help them to with the teachings. This is what we do. We help people to help themselves, and I think also that is true healing and the empowerment of people to do it themselves and not to be dependent on anybody, really.
We also
take responsibility.
We also have inputs from Chris Forrester.
Yes.
It's writing, perhaps enlightenment comes from paths that involve transcending or living the world, desires, etc. But goddess-loving paganism embraces the world, so we are seeking wholeness and connection rather than enlightenment.
Absolutely.
And also we have another comment We have another comment from Kate, Dineen, Energy Weaver, and Kate. To me, enlightenment equates to consciously filling with light cleansing energies from goddess, cosmos, stars, and releasing heaviness to Mother Earth, and to aspire to be in a constant flow like this. In this way, step into power and service and a knowledge that we are all conscious beings with choice. To me, this aspiration feels like a way of being.
Yeah, I like both those inputs. Thank you both very much. Yeah, off the world, I particularly resonate with that, what Chris said there. But also, I think what Marion is saying here, that this mother thing, which is very much part of goddess-centered paganism, where the great mother, you know, it's like almost like it's, of course, the mother is our earth, or the earth is our mother, of course, of course, of course. But also I feel there's a slight kind of edge there around, you know, God the Father from Christianity and other monotheistic patriarchic religions, that now we've gone to the mother. And that means we are in this child role, whether we're teachers or not, in relation to the goddess somewhere. And actually that same thing that you're saying is projected onto people who are teachers or ceremonialists or holders of circles or healers, you know, can often be actually what we unconsciously very often project onto goddess. And so for me there is an element where actually that there are many more archetypes of goddess, and to actually find one that is not so mother-child based in our own slightly subconscious relationship with the divine is actually part of this, what we're talking about here, of not tripping up into this where is our service not serving actually at all, where it's actually an egoic need to be needed, to be seen, to be adored, to be thanked. Oh, I've never experienced healing or teachings like this before, you know, and our ego goes yum yum yum, give me more. Well, alarm bells there, ting-a-ling-ling, you know. What do we do? How do we bring that into our own spiritual practices? Yeah, I like that question.
I think there's a lot of wounding or places that we have to really look at when we go into service. And I think it's you know, that the place of I want to be needed, you know, those shadowy places. But I tend to look at it as when I'm in service, there's a difference if I am in service to the community or if I am in service to goddess, and through that I am serving the community, because through being in service to goddess, my cup is always filled. And so I don't go into lack at all, but going from the place of I'm in service to community, we tend to give so much from ourselves that our cup just empties until we're like burned out.
And that's going back to those boundaries that you mentioned again, isn't it? Very, very much so.
Watching those places from what angle are we in service, and from what place of service are we working from?
Yeah, boundaries.
A comment made previously about choice, recognizing and honoring that we have choice, and that all and as Katinka said, what would love do? You know, what are our choices? If in those bad times I'm not stepping up as my best self, that's my choice. It's not, maybe it's an unconscious choice, but once I become aware of it, it becomes a conscious choice. And then that's my responsibility to change that.
And Astra goes on saying in the comments from Facebook, yes, what Marion said, and Katinka now too, this mother need protection, perhaps where one feels as if they must be the savior and sustenance, the milk and the life giver. So ceremonialist, have you ever had somebody in your trainings, lives as priestesses, lives as women, that inhabited this? And how did you deal with somebody who was really going into a full-blown messiah complex that was also a bit, you know, intimidating you maybe, or feeling you, making you feel, you know, not threatened, but in a way scared of the path you were walking with this person? Did that happen to you?
Do you mean projected on us, or somebody?
No, the other way around. While you were training, we're always training, but in your spiritual path, did you ever encounter a leader or a mentor that suddenly turned to the Messiah complex, and it was just right there in your face, and you could not avoid seeing that? And how did you personally deal with that? Because I feel that's what most of us go through, finding someone that you follow until the point where it becomes, not really feasible at the point. So how do we feel about this question that we're posing, but also how do you deal with that when it happens to you and you're on the other side of that?
Yes, I can start there. Definitely. And it's not sudden, it's subtle. It's most of the time not a switch like this. It's something that gradually grows because it's not checked, or there is no one to reflect. Like I said earlier, we need circles of equals to really, be able to share deeply. And the ceremonial group for the conference is one of these for all of us really here. But so, yes, I have experienced that. And so one of the things to do is to drop into healthy boundaries, like has been said now, that are not actually rigid and forever. That you need to keep checking, where is that boundary, in yourself? Where is that boundary? To make allowances for people's humanness, because if we have teachers or way showers who we project, or they have to be perfect, blah, 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 and they're not. They're also just humans on the path. They're fellow travelers, really. They may be more experienced in certain way or more skilled in certain way, but they might be more fucked up in other ways. Oh, am I allowed to say that? Anyway, I've done that now.
We're not in the BBC, so you're absolutely allowed to say that.
Anyway, so allowances. And then when the impact becomes really detrimental, or you just move away, you don't even have to go into counter reactiveness. The good skill is if you can just move away and choose differently. All of us who are courageous enough to be teachers or way showers or healers, or people who stand and say, come and sit in a circle, I have a way that can lead you to your way of experiencing something of the divine, of goddess, of the gods, of paganism, of spirituality, that may help you in your self-development, that may heal parts of you, or that you may get your own connection, whatever it is. All of us will drop into this unskilled behavior at times because of the responsibility that is on you and the edge you're holding between really leading something and just having a sort of party, or a comfort zone. Everybody stays in the comfort zone. So when it is the other way around and we experience it, I think there is an element of allowing, and then there is an element of the no boundary. And where is that? It's not a spiked fence armed with guns or something, it can be like a membrane. And then if it stays or increases, that's it. No, I don't want to be associated.
Yeah. No, I don't completely agree with that. And I think it's also, I have, I often say this, as a Dutch person, I have a healthy measure of, just rebelliousness maybe, or like, I'm not going to be told how I need to behave or need to do anything, and especially on spiritual path, which I think is deeply personal and unique. I think I can't tell anybody what their experience of goddess is, and neither can anybody tell me what my experience of goddess is, or how I should behave, or how I mean, I've been in the church for a long, long time, and I recognize dogma, and and I think when that happens for me, it's like, oh no, that's not. Sometimes I think maybe I should then speak up a bit more, like say, oh, actually this is happening, but that is a whole other ball game to do that, because then you're putting yourself in a very vulnerable place, especially if people don't see it. If people don't see that they are actually doing this, having this I know it all, or this is my way, or the highway attitudes. It's very hard to confront them. I'm not necessarily that courageous to do that. And but I would step away and I would actually say, no, this is not for me.
Also, there is, I feel, middle ground here from the research of yourself and your spiritual path and the Messiah complex. There is a place in between, which is where we all train, where we all attend conferences, and where we all grow. Is there, in your opinion, enough space to grow as a leader? Because in the end, what we're training for sometimes, and what we are hearing conferences and talks about, is to become, leaders and priestesses and priests and people who lead other people. So should there be much more attention to, to how we are creating new leaders in a way that they can not only facilitate, but also be in a responsibility chair where they know the power they have over people and how to work that for them and for the people they are dealing with as well? Do you feel in the trainings you attended, the world around you, is there a focus on this, on the responsibility and not just the prestige of being, a fantastic priestess? Is there an element of teaching the responsibilities that you hold as that?
Well, I personally, I've done the luminary training from 𝘠𝘓𝗔𝗕𝗟𝗏, which this offers exactly what you're talking about. And also this is exactly the reason why I did it. Because, when I started becoming one of the weavers together with 𝗕𝗓𝗏 from the Goddess Conference, I've never had that kind of management or hire leader or a leader. I find it's in itself quite a strange word, but yeah, so somebody with that kind of responsibility. And I was like, no, I need to learn. I think it's all about opening yourself to learn and knowing, and also realizing that you don't know it all. And I, like Caroline said in the very beginning, maybe that's the most important part of towards enlightenment, is to keep growing, keep learning, and to learn from each other. And in the conference, there's always inspiration. I always find there's always one or two things that come out of the conference that really inspire me. I'm like, oh, I want to do more, or I want to learn more about this, or I didn't know this and I want to. So I think the constant learning and growing is very important, especially if you step into a role of leader.
And I think we've all probably spoken about it, and we've all mentioned it, that circle of peers, mentors, is so key and important. And Andrea, talking about what you were saying with training courses, I think they should. I think not necessarily, they're by no means all trainings online, in person, all of the ones out there focus on that at all, but I think the good ones do. The good ones will have an element of bringing in that self-responsibility, that healthy boundaries work, clear communications, empathic communications. It's definitely, and non-violent. I know, Marianne, you really focusing on that on the Bridget training, those ways of guiding students to that aren't necessarily priestess, things that people would box and label as a priestess training, where people might think, oh, I want to be a priestess, I want to learn how to do hand fasting. That's beautiful, and that's definitely that's important as a priestess skill, but so is being able to mediate between two people, so is being able to communicate with loved ones, with complete strangers, in a way that is calm and is compassionate, and is with active listening and all of those skills. And I think that is just as key to being a part of a priest. That is a part of the priestess toolkit. Very much so. Yeah, very much so. To me personally, anyway.
So, Caroline, sorry, Stephanie, would you like to say something?
I was thinking before about the question that you gave, and I had a story that I've learned quite early on, actually, to hold my responsibility and to feel into when I say no. And it wasn't in a training. It was more in our store. When we used to have our store, we had a wonderful, wonderful woman who worked in our store, and she loved to be there. That was like her place where she can just be herself. And and one day she came into our store and said that she had to stop because her daughter opened up a nail studio and her husband just left and everything, and that she has to go and help her family. And what happened was that she completely gave up everything that she loved, going into that Messiah complex again. That story popped into my head. And that she gave up everything. And then we saw her a couple of months afterwards. She was really skinny and she just wasn't feeling well, and we told her, "You're not looking good." And then she said, "Oh, I don't even have time to go to the doctor, or I don't even have time to go cut my hair. Everybody needs me and I have so much to do and I just don't know what to do." And we're like, "Well, yeah, but you don't look well. You have to go check out yourself." She says, "I don't have any time. This will pass." And like 1.5 months or 2 months later, we got the notification that she died. That she, because of being in service to everybody else in that Messiah complex, out of that place that everybody needs me, and this is my job, this is what I have to do, I have to be in service, and not feeling her own boundary or not what would really be good for her. And that question just popped, that's been going through my mind the last couple of minutes, is to really feel into the boundary place. It's coming again and again, to really feel into that. So I didn't really have it in training, but I take that story often and put it into my training to tell my students to always feel in, to hold the boundary. And that is leadership. For me, that is also the new time, or the new priestessing, is really holding your boundary. And the healthy boundary, and feeling into what you need and how your body is feeling, and not overstepping that. For me, that is the new.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And also,
I wanted to just circle back to your question, Andrea, if I may, which was to what do we do ourselves, and I think it's really important from what Stephanie was saying, and Caroline also, that we learn from those around us. But also that we really keep in our mind that we are not finished. We have not arrived somewhere and can rest on our laurels. That's just not like that. And whether it is self-study, personally, I'm very selective who I would have as a teacher now. But also from opportunities in life, like the others have already said, from books. I mean, of course, if circle work and leadership, and Marion mentioned Lynn, but also Starhawk. I mean, I studied with the 𝗓𝗓𝗓 Bonheim's books. She is an extraordinarily amazing teacher in circle work. And then actually for me personally, there's something around learning from my loved ones, where it's perhaps easy to receive, particularly into the places where I really do need to work on myself, but also from the younger generation. I mean, my kids are really part of my teachers. Avenna in particular, my eldest daughter, she's really skilled in what is called sociocracy. I had to check the word that I said it correctly here. But this is about leadership and about inclusivity and about equality in circles, and about how do we change discussions into consensual seeking consensus, rather than into this kind of majority vote kind of thing that we're conditioned with. So there's all these, and it's much more complicated than that. But so I'm learning from people who are close to me, but also from just things that happen, or I seek out specific books or teachers to work with in areas that I need to still work on. I have to say that I am also not having enough time for that. What you said there, Stephanie, about not having enough time. But so, yeah, I think we have a responsibility if we want to be these leaders, or if we want to be teachers, or if we want to be on the path of enlightenment, whatever that means for each of us, on the spiritual path really of becoming. the best versions of ourselves, then we need to continuously be committed to growth and to self-examination, and especially in these egoic places that you've brought up, Andrea.
Yeah. Also, there is an element in what you said and what Stephanie said from the real life experience, which is the glorification. The moment where there is a fashion to the Messiah complex, where you also make a statement of not taking care of yourself, of not. There is a glorification element in that. So I can take care, as Katinka was saying at the very beginning. I do not take care of myself. I look distraught. My hair, everything is a mess basically. But that can happen because I'm very busy on saving the world or saving part of the world. So there is an element of glorification that allows us to very get away from ourselves and from taking care and also doing serious shadow work that needs to happen. So I would ask Caroline, Stephanie, Marion, Katinka, how do you deal with the amount of energy, which is unspoken and never considered usually, the amount of energy that is required to walk this path where you are the leader, but also the one that needs healing and shadow work for herself, himself, themselves, without skipping one of the two and becoming the Dune Messiah?
I call Katinka.
I love this. Good thoughts. I love
Katinka! Please.
I call Marion.
Well, there is a pattern. There is a pattern there. So
I think this is very much what we were talking about having a circle of peers.
Yes.
And I think the people who are not afraid to feed back to you in a constructive way, but in to be each other's healers, to be each other's mirrors, and and also. Yeah, just to also, I think this is very much a thing with so in a circle like we have, it's like there is this trust, there is this underlying knowing of maybe of love that is Goddess, all our love for Goddess and for the Goddess ways, and that that we also know that we can do things wrong, and that doesn't mean that we don't love each other anymore, but also we can do, if there's a mistake done, it's also okay to tell each other, like, come on, this is not on, or
to be held accountable from that place of love, Marion. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that is very much what we call each other, but also in the circle itself, like no, okay, let's look at this. Why is this happening? And not be afraid. And I think that is we're very lucky to have a circle of trust like that, and a circle that we know, we know from each other. We all come from this place of, I will say it's service to God, to Goddess, to service, to love, and I'm not afraid to go to the edge places with each other in that.
I think also, me personally, I imagine all of us, we will all have kind of spiritual self-care practices that we do, cleansings, energetics, and Andrea, you mentioned about energy, holding this and working with that level of energy, whilst also knowing myself, that I've got work to do. And I think it's very much that it's about making sure that my own energy levels are topped up, that I've got my good boundaries in place, both mentally but also energetically. I do a lot of energy work, so I really do that. I do visualizations particularly before I go out into town or something. It's simple as that, or before I do, before I work with people, before I have a client, I do a lot of energy work. So I think from a practical level, with healing as well, that's really, for me personally, that's something really important. And to I work with my rattle to rattle energies off when I feel that I've got myself into a bit of an edge place, just to kind of do that cleansing work as well.
I really love the fact that you all mentioned community in a way, and you know, this self-care element, and this is particularly beautiful because the Messiah complex comes from the sentence, you know, it's lonely up at the top. So even sometimes it also begins from good places, I mean, where you reached what you wanted to reach, but it's lonely at the top. So the moment you're alone, you do not really take care of yourself on a level, and you have no community around you. So there's nobody holding you accountable and in a way checking on you. And
it's a very isolated perspective from up the top, isn't it? If you're on
we
your
don't
own.
we don't do top as goddess people, really. We don't do higher, do
But
we?
some people do deep, you know, which is actually the top upside down. Same thing, really.
True.
Same. So for me, it's really how to create working relationships that are the way you would want to be treated yourself, creating those circles of equals and allowing space for that amongst your students as well over time. And like you're saying, you know, this sense of community that is supportive, and that is this hierarchical thing, you know, of the pointed up pyramid that Sadhu always talks about. And actually, if you were really to flip it, not now it's the deep, you know, instead of the high, but actually that it exponentially actually becomes more and more supportive, more what's the word, delegation, more rather than less.
Expansion. Yeah.
Expansion. Thank you.
And this extremely happens in the setup that it's been the Goddess Conference, that is the Goddess Conference, and it will be the Goddess Conference. So circles of equals, and also a community where people go and come back to. And speaking of this, I'd love to remind.
We look forward to seeing you next.
Sorry, everyone know do one
We
go
do
away?
look forward to seeing you.
We look forward to seeing you next year.
We check out our website where you can find all the tickets to participate. There are day tickets, weekend tickets, full tickets. Also this year we decided to be very inclusive with the price, and so we lowered the price than what initially planned to allow as many people as many components of our community to participate. So please do check out goddessconference.com/shop to make sure that you see all the available tickets to participate and to join this beautiful community of amazing people we have. Another announcement.
Goddess healing. What's not to love?
Everyone is really, really excited about this, and all the topics we're gonna face in this coming Tuesdays will be things to heal, things to work on, and every single topic is thought in connection to the Goddess community, to the topics we always feel and hear in Goddess Conference, you know, people talking about in coffee breaks or during ceremonies or during the talks. So we picked up on some of the most divisive but also interesting topics from the community to make sure there is a roundtable where, as a circle of equals, we could talk about them. And so we wait for you at the next roundtable, which is going to be next Tuesday, again at 5:30 p.m. UK time. Please check our Facebook page. And if you're hearing us on the podcast on YouTube, thanks so much for listening. So I would wrap up for today if you're all okay with that. Nice.
Thank you so much,
So
Andrea.
again,
Thank you.
thank you so much, Susan, Stephanie, Alison Schuler, Caroline Stephenson, Marion Brigante. You have been fantastic. We will see you all next Tuesday. Thank you so much for being part of this and to attend this fantastic roundtable. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
And it's over. No, sorry, we're still live.